Hello, everyone, and welcome to an Unearthly podcast. This is episode 5, and we're ready to talk about Angels Take Manhattan. Here I've got Mad Matt, Randy, Thomas, and unfortunately Flynn couldn't make it today, and in his place we have Hydriatus of the Armchair General.
Hydriatus, damn it.
That's not what I said?
No.
I'm sorry, Ben. For those of you just tuning in for the first time, An Unearthly Podcast is a Star's End production in association with Fireheart Inc. and Mad Matt Inc., posted on stars-n.net, fantasy and sci-fi loving news and reviews, and madmattinc.wordpress.com. Alright, so Angels Take Manhattan was, of course, the highly advertised final adventure of Rory and Amy Williams and/or Pond. Matt, want to take off with that plot summary?
Oh boy. Okay. How to summarize this sucker?
Concise.
Yes. So.
Oh, by the way, this episode will probably be filled with spoilers from the minute we start talking, so be prepared for that.
Yes. So the episode begins before the credits with a guy wandering into an apartment complex overrun with angels. Credits then roll, and we come back. We find the Doctor, Rory, and Amy sitting around having a little picnic, I guess, out near New York in Central Park, I believe.
Yes, it's amazing how they're the only 3 people in Central Park.
The only 3 sitting around.
I just love the fact that, obviously they got some sort of, filming deal in New York, so the past couple of seasons have been done a lot in America.
It's partially because the BBC America is kind of half paying for the last couple of seasons.
And I think American fans have been bitching that everything was taking place in London and/or Cardiff.
Well, mind you, the BBC actually owns BBC America now. They rebought it back, so they've really been touting it up over here, so that's part of the reason they keep at least filming 1 episode a season over here.
So, ta-da.
Also, it has name value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, and there was some bitching, actually, I think, in England over the fact that everything was going on there.
Oh yeah, no, even I'll admit that, but at least, you had the historic episodes.
Cardiff, why always Cardiff?
Because it's on a time portal thing,
because that's where their studio is.
Because it doesn't care if you work for the BBC, you still have a budget.
It's in a freaking rock quarry in Wales.
Now that we've gone off on a tangent in record time, Matt, you can take over again.
And after that smack of the head against the stone wall, so they're having a little picnic. The Doctor is apparently reading a book. He's describing the female character, I believe, who is supposed to be the main character. And what was the word he used? Yowza?
Wowza.
Yowza, something like that. A lot. To which Amy was also retorting on the fact that he kept talking out what he was reading in the book.
Concise.
Yes, but the book is important. They send off Rory to get some coffee, and as they continue to read the book, they suddenly realize that the main character that they just bumped into in the book is Rory, as it appears that he has been attacked by the angels. And this book is actually notes from River Song to get them to come to that particular time frame in New York.
Anybody remember the actual date it was?
No, I'm still kind of...
I remember it being the 1930s.
I remember some reference to the 1930s, but...
1934, I think, in June, but I forget the date. Or April.
It was in April.
April.
April 3rd, I think? How might I say?
Doesn't
Something
matter.
like that. Early April.
I would point out, if it was the 1930s, that means the Daleks were there not much earlier.
Yeah, but what you learn with Doctor Who is that something's happening every day.
If it's in Manhattan, London, or Cardiff, there's literally some sort of invasion or war every day.
Or at least every other week. Oh, must be noon on Wednesday.
Yeah, Unit has scheduled alien invasions and everything.
1938, by the way.
1938.
Question is, like, who did they say was the author of the book the Doctor was reading? Because if it is River Song, then does he, like, not read who wrote it?
It is River Song, but it was under the alias Melody Malone.
Melody Malone was the main character. It never really said who the author was, but it's obviously River under...
I thought they said it was written by Melody Malone. I thought the cover said that, too.
No, I'll look that up just a moment.
Yeah, for some reason you're faster at looking stuff up than me, so I'm just going to leave you to it.
I did like the sort of film noir style before the credits, though.
Boom, 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 boom,
Nice.
boom, 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 ba da 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 dum 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 ba dum boom 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 boom.
I also like how Matt's sort of avoiding the most rant-inducing aspect.
You can't tell the name Melody Malone cover, but that's obviously in the title of the book area. It really doesn't show the author.
Oh, okay.
I actually had to go into the episode and actually take a look.
Okay. Thanks for checking.
So, yes, they figure out that the author is River Song. They go out to find Rory. They realize they cannot get into that particular time frame because the angels are abducting people constantly and causing lots of time friction. Kind of weird stuff. And they get a hint that they should go back into River Song. They note that he knows that what's going on with the book and that he's caught up and waiting for a way to try and get through. To which she then pushes a few buttons on her little wrist thing and gives him a homing beacon, if you will.
I will get into that later.
Yeah, I figured that would be something that you would pick apart. While they are trying to get to River Song, Rory is thrown into the basement with little children angels.
Cherubs.
Yeah, I call them the weeping
mostly cherubs, yes.
The weeping cherubs are pretty much the best name for them.
Rory's nabbed yet again, but is for some reason, instead of going through time, just sent to another location.
Again, I will bring that up shortly.
Yep. Find out about this, they also got to read a little too much out of the book, and certain things are now going to be set in stone, future. Which also makes me kind of question a little, but okay.
Actually, I don't mind that part, but keep going.
I had a little problem with it, but alright. So the entire time of the rest of the episode, they are trying to find ways to break the inevitable apparent future while trying to save Rory from what is supposed to be a feeding farm for the angels because they continue to send people further and further back in time in the same spot.
Keep going.
They finally bump into an older version of Rory who dies in a bed in the exact same spot where he was about to be nabbed by angels, and then go on a chase up to the roof, again dodging even more of the weeping angels on their way up, wherein they encounter the giant Statue of Liberty angel with angry face, with fang. Moving on. Rory stands on the edge of the building. Essentially, the thing is that it would be impossible for him to be an old man and die there, and jump off the edge of the building and die the same day, and make it a paradox, which would apparently destroy the angel. He takes a dive with Amy in hand, while the Doctor is freaking out because of some of the notations he saw in the chapters in the book. They do manage to make the paradox happen and destroy almost all of the angels, except for one who pokes Rory in the back. Yeah. With a semi-smile on its face.
Come on, almost done.
The Doctor and Amy both have a moment of what should we do, what should we do? We can't exactly go back and save Rory. To which Amy finally says, you know what, I'm just going to go to him. You can't stop me. We're supposed to be together. I want to be together with him. Goodbye, Doctor. Poke. And she goes. And also, River Song was given orders by Amy, because River Song is Amy's daughter, that she should keep an eye on the Doctor.
Alright, casually.
They finally go back in the TARDIS. They have a little bit of a chat. River mentions the idea of giving Amy an okay to add notations at the end of the book for the for the Doctor to read.
That's right. Okay.
And has a kind of sad moment at the end of the episode.
That's pretty much it.
And that's about it.
Okay.
Here goes Randy.
Okay, yes, I'm going to start. And this is going to take a while, I will warn you now. I have many issues with this episode.
Okay, then just bit by bit. Let's not let you overrun this.
Number one,
I would say topic by topic.
The Weeping Angels.
Where to start?
Well, let's start way back in Series 3 with Blink.
Which was an awesome episode.
Good place
yes,
to start.
that's a great episode. I love that episode.
It's a good
Even though I still have questions about it.
It's a good episode.
Well, what I mean is the fact it's... Even so, 10 pretty much states what the Angels are. They're killers from the Dark Times at the beginning of the universe whose shape resembles that of stone angels.
Yeah, we're with you so far.
They call them the gentle killers because they just don't really kill you or send you back in time.
Yep, go on.
And then feed off the potential time energy of the life you would have had.
Yeah.
Now, that's how they were
does not make sense because you still are alive, so I don't see where this...
No. I think it works in the fact that there is a sort of fate destiny thing in the mythology of Doctor Who, as in there is a way things are meant to happen, but a human life is just so minor that it can sort of be just overlooked like a retcon, and the angels feed off the thing that you would have done, but you don't end up doing.
Because now, by the time you get back to that, you would have been dead or your life would have been shortened.
Also, is this like an unspoken rule that an angel can only send someone back once?
Not that I'm aware.
No, because I think that's the whole point of, what is it? How do you pronounce it? Winter Key, I think they said? Right?
Yeah.
That's the whole point is that they keep sending them back over and over.
But then why don't the angels just stand there and send them back to, like, the freaking Dark Ages?
Because I don't think they have full control on where they're sending them back, although it does seem to be different in this episode.
It also, based on this episode, it kind of indicates they need a certain level of strength to send someone back in the first place.
That was
no, I don't mean... No, sorry, you misunderstood me. I didn't mean, like, send them specifically back to the Dark Age. I mean, send them back 50 years ago, and then feed themselves 50 years ago by sending the person they sent years ago 50 years further back.
Well, the thing is, I don't think the angels can actually travel in time themselves.
I'm not saying it should travel in time. It's just the fact that they should. It's self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like this angel is alive because it hit this guy 50 years ago. So that means sometime in the future it'll run into this guy and it knows it has to send him back.
But that's the thing. If you had the choice now to either keep feeding your 10-year-old self or to eat for the rest of your life, which one would you choose? I think
the main issue is because I think the screenwriter's head will explode trying to keep track of that.
But regardless, I mean, the thing is, the angels really never showed that much collective intelligence until the 5th series, when we actually had one talk through the windpipe of another person.
Because they can't have a civilization. If they turn to stone the minute they look at each other, it's like...
Yeah,
okay, we know evolution doesn't exist in Doctor Who, essentially, but they cannot have a civilization, they cannot travel, they cannot communicate.
Right.
They have no need to. They should literally be more like animals.
In fact, the solution of Blink was to have the TARDIS dematerialize while 4 angels were surrounding it. They all saw each other, froze up.
Yeah, but don't forget, couldn't you technically do that with a mirror? Like, if an angel attacks you, just hold up pocket mirrors, glue it to its eyes or something.
Yep.
Yeah, probably. That's never actually come up.
Although
of course,
it's like Alex and the Stairs. It never came up.
The mirror would become an angel in and of itself, and then you'd have 2 angels staring at each other, and they'd both turn to stone. Anyway.
But I was actually going to bring that up when I was talking about the episode in the 5th one. What was the name of that episode?
That's a good...
Time of Angels?
It's a 2-parter, wasn't it?
Time of Angels?
Time of the Angels, yeah.
Stone and Flesh or something like that?
Yeah,
Flesh and Stone?
Yeah, Stone and Flesh and Time of the Angels.
Okay. And there, Moffat pretty much rewrit how the angels worked. First of all, they weren't sending people back in time. They were just killing them outright.
Which is rubbish.
in its defense, he was saying that these angels hadn't fed in so long that they were exceedingly weak, which, by the way, is a complete and total failure as a species. Suddenly you are so weak from lack of food that you can't eat?
Yeah, that's...
excuse me, please remind me, isn't that a failing of the human species as well? If you starve, you can't move, ergo you finish starving to death.
Yes, but if you put food in front of me, I can't be like... Well, okay, there are occasions where you're so injured that you can't eat, but generally starvation doesn't cause you, to lock up and not be able to digest food.
No, but in the same way that if you've been starved, you can't just eat like a full gourmet 5-star Michelin meal because that will fucking wipe out your intestines. You have to eat something simple.
No, but you can at least, put a fork in something and swallow it.
Yes, but I'm comparing the same thing. That sending them back in time is just the finest, most sweetest way they have of feeding, but they have a much more simpler way, which is feeding off the reactor. It's like giving water to someone who starved, isn't it?
Yeah, quite true.
Of course, this goes out the window because this is all a sound theory, but it's never explained in the show itself, which it should be.
Which is a major failing of Moffat.
And Moffat also fails on the basic horror front.
The fact
the more you have of something, the less scary it is.
Four Angels. That's actually the Stormtrooper effect, but
Four Angels, very terrifying, but one of the best episodes of Doctor Who. Now, there's more than 4 of them. The whole thing's failed.
Which is kind of like what's that trope called? The inverse power of ninja law or something to that effect.
Yeah,
if you have one ninja, it could kick everyone's ass. If you have 1,000 ninjas, one person can.
The law of conservation of ninjutsu.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. The law of conservation of ninjutsu. It's spread out.
So in that same episode, as you brought up, Moffat also suddenly brought out that anything that has the face of an angel becomes an angel. Where did this power come from? And why wasn't it mentioned in Blink?
I think it kind of was. Like, how do you think the Doctor got stranded originally? Because the woman gave him the bloody photos of the angels.
No. I thought it was established that the angels actually wound up touching the Doctor and sending him back to the 60s.
True, but when you think about the whole thing that pictures of angels become angels, there's a bunch of angels on the TARDIS.
But then there was also the whole thing where the iris of your eye, the pupil of your eye becomes an angel from having seen an angel, which would pretty much mean
anything that can store an image can become an angel.
Which would pretty much mean that anyone who's ever seen an angel is fucked.
Now,
because only look them proper in the eye.
Now, I will bring this into light when I get back into this episode. The fact is, though, that this was never brought up in Blink, and it suddenly Moffat just kind of pulled it out of his ass for Stone and Flesh.
Well,
and made it lame.
Because it wasn't mentioned in Blink, that was part of the cool things. The angels were just so mysterious. You just had no idea what the hell these things were.
Also, the fact that I'm pretty sure that 10 told us that the angels were indestructible.
It's when they're locked. When they're in motion, they can be damaged. When they're being observed, they're indestructible.
Really? Bill, as a gamer, I'm pretty sure you can pretty much appreciate you can get quite inventive when you have to destroy something.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying that was they're only indestructible when they can't move.
No, strap some dynamite to the fecker.
No, it's supposed to be. It wouldn't have any effect unless nobody was observing it and it was able to move.
They're quantum locked, which means they're essentially fixed point.
And they can't. I thought they literally turned to like solid stone.
No,
they were still stone.
And
you can damage stone.
That was the interesting part. Is they were an alien life form that resembled stone, but was
okay. No, fair enough. If that was just a misinterpretation on my part, fine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just continually was thinking of the problems like this is a problem that can be solved by construction.
I think this was a problem here. I think this was a tell not show instance. I don't think anyone ever tried to damage them when they were locked. They just told us you couldn't. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Now,
granted, no one was ever equipped to damage the stone.
We also saw the angels devolving in that episode, the 5th, or in the 5th series.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had been weakened for so long that they looked like worn down stuff.
Yeah, that's when we saw them basically like rotting, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, but I feel one more quick question when we were mentioning the whole fact that this is an evolutionary stupidity thing.
Mhm.
How the fuck does that species reproduce?
Not really brought up, yet apparently, according to this episode, baby
There are
angels
babies.
existed.
Yeah.
Which,
no,
you know,
because they're not specified. They're baby angels. They're just little statues
Actually,
that
they are.
apparently
They
are
call
set.
them babies.
baby angels.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, isn't it more like just that guy calling them that because they
No,
look like babies?
It's 11
more so?
calling
Okay.
them baby angels.
now this might be something I want to save for later, but the fact that the baby angels, instead of doing what most babies would do and just eat, instead seem to be instrumental in sending food to their parents, so their parent or to the adults, so the adults can eat instead of the babies. That
It's an interesting idea.
It's the whole
other words-
messed
in
up.
other words, the babies are feeding the adults, and the adults are not feeding the babies. So essentially, the babies are destined to die in that case.
It's
Or the baby,
thought it
or
was
the
just
babies
a-
are actually, actual adults, and they're feeding the senile ones.
That's an
I
interesting
just thought
theory. I kind of like that.
okay.
I just thought it might have been
That still doesn't
because
explain the
they're-
fucking Statue of Liberty.
because
I
they're
was
apparently.
wishing to bring that up.
We're not. Yeah, we're not ready for that because that's gonna take some time on
That's
its own.
the grand clincher of this wrongness.
It sums up
Really?
everything that's wrong with the entire mythos in one statue.
So we pretty much
Actually, one Facebook meme because it was on there like a year ago.
Well, there's more wrongness to it than that.
Yes. Okay, yeah, I've got several reasons that's wrong, but I was waiting to get to that. So then we get into the current episode, where apparently the angels can now inhabit any statue.
Is that how it's
Apparently
explained?
they're now energy beings that have no physical form but can inhabit any statue in New York and can look like anything.
That's the only way to explain it, and no, it's not been explained during the episode.
No, it wasn't explained during the episode.
As opposed to them literally being,
Moffat once again pulled hot and steaming out of his ass.
as opposed to them literally just being able to shift their physical form to resemble a normal statue.
That's
Or
that's
are
not
they-
how I saw
Or-
it.
the
but I-
case.
Or
I am
Or are they
going to
essentially
pass
rock
it off
versions of Pinocchio?
as being not breaking my suspension of disbelief.
maybe they're like rock elemental versions of Pinocchio. Like they're a spirit that inhabits the rock, so they're an elemental sort of thing,
Although
and they
it was
just
actually-
possess whatever shape they get.
Yeah, so what I would
wait.
kind of think is, I'm trying to think of a specific example in other fiction, but I can't think of a specific one. But basically, where it's just like, they're sort of like a mold. They pour themselves inside the statue and take its shape, destroying it from inside, taking its
Something.
place.
All I know is it said in the episode that they'd taken over pretty much every statue in New York. Let's think about that. The year is 1938. This is one of the reasons I wanted the year that this episode was supposed to take place. Because at this point, the population of New York is over 10 million people. It is the largest city in the world, beating out London. It has probably over a dozen parks, plus cemeteries, cathedrals, all of which will have statues.
And here's an interesting question. Where do you draw the line between a statue and a building, or a building with a stone foundation, or any other inanimate
A
object?
statue actually has to resemble something, I'm guessing.
As long as it's humanoid, apparently.
No. Lions are statues.
But have we ever seen an angel infest a lion?
I'm
Nope.
sure,
Give it time.
I'm sure
I'll bet you next season.
I'm
I will
sure we
bet
will
you
in
one of the
Series
future
8.
Oh, yeah.
seasons will have-
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure we will in Series 8. We'll see
Yeah,
angel
I'm pretty
cats,
sure
angel dogs.
Our next wrongness will have to cap the current wrongness, which actually does bring us to... What the hell, Moffat? The Statue of Liberty as an angel.
Because, nobody ever observes the Statue of Liberty.
Correct. This is, as I said, a city of 10 million people. It is known as the city that never sleeps, even in the 30s. So how the hell is it able to get up, move across, what is that, about half mile of water?
And stomp through some of the city and get up to this place
No,
without
no,
being...
okay.
And stomp
Guys,
through the
guys,
city
guys,
like
guys,
the
guys.
Stay Puft
Marshmallow Man.
Marshmallow Man.
Guys,
Goddamn, we
calm down.
we
First of
both
all,
just said the same thing at the same time.
Yes.
First of all, the Quay thing, it might be like really near the Statue of Liberty site anyway.
It's
It's-
not in the water.
Yeah.
But it's a quay that's near the water.
The Statue of Liberty is on Ellis Island, which is
Yes.
about a half mile out in the bay. Now,
Secondly, we've never clocked the angel top land speed.
We hear it coming.
We hear it.
We hear
stomping
it
slowly
walking!
Like the
No, we
Stay Puft
don't.
Marshmallow
No, we
Man.
don't.
Do.
Yes, we do!
Yes, we do. 'Cause
Twice.
when they hear the boom, boom,
Boom.
That's
And they
that's
do
not-
the
They say
whole
that's the
camera
Statue of
shake
Liberty.
thing as it booms.
Shut up and let me talk for a minute. Thank you. That's it walking. That's it turning to stone every time people notice it.
Well,
That makes no sense! Then no one would stop looking at it!
first of all,
I was gonna
if
say,
somebody-
real,
yeah,
nobody
Well,
would notice if they saw the Statue of Liberty in a completely different
so-
spot.
Dude, you saw the Statue of Liberty like 500 miles down the road. You'd be like, blink when you take it back, and then you wouldn't see it again, and then you'd be just thinking you saw something. You
Well,
hired
at
me.
the same time,
I'm gonna fucking do my job.
I don't.
No,
I don't
it does not work that way.
it does not work that way.
Okay, here's another one though. How many? Anybody want to take again to how many postcards of the Statue of Liberty exist? How many
That was going
photographs?
to be my next issue.
Little statues of Liberty.
Oh yeah, little statues of
Thousands
liberty.
of postcards, photographs.
Just the fact, just that power, and the Statue
Yeah.
of Liberty should have. There's an angel in every household almost
Pretty
in
much.
the entire world, pretty much. So
At least in
they
America.
won.
And every school.
Not to
There's a
mention
simple
every film filmed in the 30s
There's-
that used the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, there's the problem is at this point it's just Doctor Who's got so much continuity. The writers have just thrown their hands up and gone, "Fuck it,
Which is
we
an
can't
issue.
keep track of."
Really, the way this
don't-
episode ended is the only way to explain that, basically by saying, "Oh yeah, the
I
Statue of
don't-
Liberty never became an angel, and that's why any of it makes any sense."
As I mentioned in Asylum of the Daleks, I don't fully expect them to follow the continuity in the first 26 seasons.
Right.
I do expect them to follow the continuity that they've done in the last 6 series, however.
Or at least since Blink.
Yeah, but Asylum, God, I had issues with Asylum. They couldn't bring back the Inquisitor General. That was like the coolest Dalek ever. Anyway, back on topic.
But
It's like they couldn't follow the 3 angel episodes we've gotten so far.
yeah.
Let's go with that.
Although, here's a quick little side note. Do you think it? Because this should make sense. If you watched the episodes with River Song in it in her
the second
timeline,
issue
order,
I will
do you
bring
think
up
they
later.
would make sense.
Oh God! See, now Randy's going to start his other rant, and we're not going to finish talking about the statue.
You crossed the line here. I'm now trying to rant 2 different things at once. Although
I want to see if I can make his head explode.
You hold off, Lucas. You just hold on. One big tragic spewing of anger at a time.
I want to see if he explodes.
no, I don't. I'll just start talking about them both simultaneously, and people that listening will get very, very confused.
Crazy River Song Angel Temporal Paradox Thermodynamics?
Thermodynamics is Bill's thing, not mine.
I will say though,
Was there anything
fa-
more
I-
on the wrongness of these angels?
Not all of them had wings. Can angels actually fly?
Not that we've seen.
Not while you're looking at them.
Well,
Which is great.
Well
There,
played.
you look up, you Sixth Sense, look up, you suddenly have an angel fall 300 feet to the ground.
Considering how
that would be hilarious, actually.
considering how fast they move when you blink, they'd better be able to fly. They better be able to fly like Superman, because if you blink, they move across like 3 rooms.
Well,
and
to
get
be honest,
right up
in
in
the,
your
episode,
face.
in the actual episode Blink, I think it's the only proof you have of them actually flying because they actually appear on 2 perches, like at the 3rd story.
Well, I'm just
Unless they climb. Like,
I'm
fucking
just
stuff.
thinking in the previous episodes, what was it, Flesh and Stone, and the other one, when you
Yeah.
blink, they like move up, down the hallway, like they're fast as a motherfucker. Their wings, they should be able
Yeah,
to
wasn't
fly
it-
if they're that fast.
wasn't there
they're so
ones
fast,
on
they're able
ledges
to
in that
move
as
between
well
frames of
that
film.
came down to the ground?
What'd you say,
What was
Thomas?
that, Thomas?
Now, well,
In Stone and Flesh, wasn't there a bunch of ones on like ledges in that at one point too, and they started sort of gradually getting closer to the
Oh
ground?
yeah, when
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had the whole room filled with them, yeah.
I
yeah.
think that's called jumping down. Although Flesh and Stone and Time of Angels had the issue of when you actually saw the angels moving, the meta example is they're so quick they can move between frames in the film. That's why you were able to see them moving in those episodes, which completely ruined them, of course.
Yes.
And they used people in some cases.
Yeah, I think Moffat's gotten to the point where he can't tell his creations apart, to the point where the angels are taking on traits of the Vashta Narada.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, he's never done really anything more with the Vashta Narada, which were, in my opinion, far more interesting than the Weeping Angels.
I'll agree.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but there's so many other things that are in the in the past things that you could have fun with. I mean, like for example, I want to see more of the goddamn Reapers. Because I'm sorry, this Doctor has been fucking about the timeline. The Reaper should have eaten his ass.
Stephen Moffat writing a episode that was by Russell T.
Now we're getting into the paradoxes and lack thereof thing that I was going to get into later.
Yeah. The minute Rory died, the Reaper should have fucking come and started eating everyone.
Yeah, it's like there's been so many, and then it's like there's been so many different versions of what a paradox is in the past 4 years. It's just like.
Yeah, and I cannot think of any major paradox issues that we ran into during the first 26 series.
Unless you count the 3 Doctors, which the Time Lords kind of bent the laws to allow that or something. They kind of exempted the Doctor from the laws of time.
That's the only thing you ever hear about, is that you're not supposed to cross your own timeline. Which, by the way, Matt, when you mentioned earlier about the whole thing about when they read it, they had to do it. That's why I understand it. You cannot cross your own timeline.
Which is interesting, because that's apparently a major thing that the angels do, is cause people to cross their own timeline just for kicks, because they did it before the credits, and then they did it with Rory.
What the angels are doing is essentially creating their own looping bootstrap paradox, which is the most acceptable form of time paradox, because it has a set ending and beginning. It just goes in a circle and then keeps going. It's not that big of a deal. It's like a loop and a chord.
The Weeping Angels were not a natural evolution, because if so, I'm losing my faith in evolution.
I mean, I'm pretty...
in that case, they're actual proof of the non-existence of God.
I just think they're bioweapons.
Well, see, what I would say is... they're and it's... I mean, you could roll your eyes if you want. I would say that they're undoubtedly a product of the Time War, because one, the laws of time apply to them and their actions differently than they do anything else. They can create fixed moments in time, so on and so forth.
They cannot be a creation of the Time War.
Why it can't?
Because, first of all, anything that was created in the Time War is still locked within the time lock.
Except for the Master, or the Doctor, or the Dalek Emperor. Or the
Centaurans,
and
any of the alien races which took part.
The Centaurans didn't take part. They wanted to take part.
But Tennant said that they've been around since the Dark Times, since the beginning.
Yeah, but can we point out there are things that not even the Time Lords know?
But I mean, my point is, the Time War changed so many.
Actually, I haven't actually considered that. But let's think about this. We have angels. We have encountered a demon in the recent series. Maybe they're linked to that.
It's possible.
But what I mean is,
Weeping Angels versus Satan.
I mean, you could go meta and blame this on the writing if you want, but the Time War has changed such fundamental details as causing Gallifreyan children to exist when they didn't, when there was no such thing before, as changing the way the Earth is destroyed. So I would say that there's a lot of changes that's going on in reality, and the angels are one of the most powerful examples of that.
I think the problem is that the current official canon makes less sense than fucking temporal paradox.
They really need to have a writer's guidebook for Doctor Who. They really do.
They do, but none of the showrunners we've had have any interest in any form
of which Russell did.
I've seen quotes of him basically saying that he has no right to... Basically, he feels that he has no right to dictate continuity even when he ran the show.
He did, though. He kept everything he did within his own continuity, which was fine. It's just...
And then Moffat came and went to Argle Flargle continuity Blargle.
Yeah. And even if he was... At least if Moffat was keeping continuity with himself, I wouldn't have an issue, but he's not.
Right. Yeah.
Hell, he's not even explaining
okay, to go into this paradox thing, let's go over the amount of types. We've had the paradox that caused... You said they're called the Reapers, right? The one that was Father's Day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've had the one on Father's Day. We've had...
Which by the way, was complete and total bunk.
We've
As
had...
much like the Reapers, the fact that it was caused by somebody from a later period touching themselves in an earlier period, we've already had that in Doctor Who.
Oh, no. That just made them stronger. The actual inciting incident was her saving her father.
But
Okay.
that's just changing a moment in time, which happens every time the Doctor steps foot out of the TARDIS.
It's apparently changing a fixed point within her own timeline.
And then there's Waters of Mars, where you can change a fixed point in time and it does nothing.
Oh,
You can change the details, but you can't change the outcome.
But the specific fixed moment was their death, which the Doctor completely changed.
No, she still died.
When?
She committed suicide at the end. All he changed was the location of her death.
Mm-hmm. Everything else stayed the same.
Then there was a river changing a fixed moment in time, which caused a paradox, which effectively...
I'll save that bit for my River Song commentary.
Actually, at least he hasn't fucked up one of the things he's done.
What's that?
He hasn't managed to fuck up Midnight yet.
He wrote Midnight?
No, that's because he hasn't gone back to that yet.
Yeah.
He hasn't really fucked up the Vashta Narada either, because he hasn't gone back to them.
There was the paradox here, which basically erased all of the events that led up to the paradox.
And then you're forgetting the Master's paradox.
Yeah, the Master's paradox.
The Master's paradox, which
was fueled by a paradox machine, which was why it was allowed to happen in the first place.
Right. Which,
so when the machine was destroyed, the paradox snapped.
Which is interesting because if the paradox ended and it brought everything back to the way it was before, the Master should have still been. It should have brought the Master back.
Actually,
no, because they were at the Eye of the Storm thing.
No, he was shot afterwards. He was still there.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
The paradox started just after the Master killed the American president, and it ended when the machine was destroyed. Then they asked what they were going to do with him. The Doctor said, "I'll take him with me." He was shot and chose to die. So the paradox loop started and ended before that happened.
Okay. And I feel there was another type of paradox that I was thinking of earlier today that I can't quite remember.
Something to do with Amy?
It could... Shoot, Amy and Rory you could write a book on paradoxes about Amy and Rory.
Yeah, you could.
No kidding.
That's the problem with Moffat, is he's using several different theories on temporal physics, and not all of them are compatible with
I was going to say, any one of them would be perfectly fine. This is science fiction. But you can't use 5 of them that are all caused by the same events but have different effects.
You could use 5 of them in 5 different episodes, but don't use multiple of them at once. And this episode uses at least 2 or 3.
There's causing a fixed moment. There's erasing all the events. There's what the angels were doing in the first place, which I said, bootstrap paradox. Right.
Not
reading ahead in your own timeline.
Right.
What's that? Yeah. That one wasn't that big of a deal. As long as they never touched themselves, so that part never came in there.
Wait. Are you talking about the merits of angels touching themselves?
No.
I was gonna say, what did you...
I know. I knew it the second it came out of my mouth.
Because I wasn't sure what the first half of that sentence was, but I heard never touch themselves, so it was okay. I was like, what the fuck did you just bring up?
No, what I mean is the fact that the future self or never touch the past self or vice versa in cases.
I thought the guy before the credits touched himself.
No, he was not until he was dead, and that doesn't count.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know why it doesn't count, because it's still the same person. It's
so are we arguing the merits of souls now?
Time
He's
doesn't
dead,
care
his soul
about
wasn't
soul
there.
or lack thereof.
Time signatures are attached to your soul.
Possibly. Okay.
Speaking of paradoxes, there's Jack.
I will agree with that. But I did.
Yeah, the face of Bo.
Did the guy actually touch his older self?
I don't
think he did. He just saw it.
I thought he grabbed his hand.
He was out for it, but
he looked at him.
Dead.
But, yeah.
He looked at him and he reached out to him, but no, they never touched. By the time he was doing that, the angels were on him.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, "Fuck! I need to get out of here."
Would you consider it a type of paradox when they were literally standing there staring at the gravestone and it changed in front of their eyes? Because that change. That's a whole nother
That's
different theory because
time changing.
Because before they were following the I thought they were following the alternate universe model of time changing. Here they're clearly not.
Yeah, that whole thing about Rory going back and changing stuff was a different temporal theory that he just kind of tacked on to the end of it using two different rules that don't fully compete with or don't fully combine with each other.
Although I do appreciate the fact that the show was aware enough of this. I guess Moffat was self-aware enough to bring that whole thing about, well, you think you're going to come back to life. When don't I?
Yes. Yes, that was actually a very good Rory line.
Which is how we know we're going to see Rory again. No matter how much Moffat says we're not, we're going to see him again.
Well, actually, we might
it's like Rory's like just caught up in the time stream now, like Jack was.
Oh yeah. Because this is their final goodbye, unless they bring him back for the 50th anniversary. You never know.
Speaking of paradoxes and fixed points and things, we've mentioned Jack a few times now. I like how Jack is a fixed moment in time, which means therefore everything that he's present at is a fixed moment in time. So I like how
he's not a fixed moment; he's a fixed point.
Right. But he's a fixed point in time, which means events he's present at should be fixed in time.
I'm not sure about that.
No, the thing is that Jack himself is a fixed point, which means that he can't really move on, if you will, in time.
Oh, so it's that kind of fixed point.
Yes.
And yet he dies.
He dies temporarily, but the fixed point doesn't allow him to die permanently.
Okay, so the face of Bo just woke up.
He might have after
we
the
left
doctor
the
left.
scene.
He might have.
What's that?
I thought the face of Bo died in the hospital, but he came back after that. I thought he had died.
I'm just wondering if the fact that after Gridlock, if he died and then he came back and went, okay, that was interesting. Now on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that I'm done with the Doctor now. Let's go check out other realities or something. I'm 5 billion years old.
He's gonna go create the Legend of the Beholders or something.
That's great. Goes to Mars and gets mistaken for a cacodemon. There we go.
We already had a Doom game. Although I will admit, they fucking wasted Satan. We need Satan back. How can you waste that villain?
That was a waste of that.
That was a freaking like season arc villain.
There's also the fact that I don't know if you would consider them the same creature or not. They both called themselves Abaddon, but there was the one that was trapped in the Cardiff time rift, and then there was also the one in in the Impossible Planet. So if they're the same one, then
no, they're not. They're not the same one, especially since I think they're the same species.
Yeah, I'm like they both called themselves Abaddon.
No, they don't. One calls himself Satan.
The one trapped in the...
Well, the one that called himself Satan, he was like, and specifically in that episode, they're like, some call me Abaddon, some call me Satan, some call me this, some call me that, and it's like there was a whole list.
He was just invoking.
Yeah, they're fucking idiots for getting my name wrong.
Being in legend.
It's like, I don't think he specifically chose a name for himself.
Little brother.
But no, I maybe it might be the aspect like the angel thing, like they knew him by this name, so a form of him was forming in this place where, in the rift where it collects everything. But the rift is like the fucking warp in 40K. Just human emotions and thoughts are just collected there.
There was also, I mean, I believe this was on the Doctor Who wiki, but I believe it was in the novels. There was also a brother / opposite to the Abaddon in the Cardiff Rift that they basically are in eternal conflict with one another. So
somebody was
either one of them could come back.
Watching way too much Star Trek.
What has that got to do with anything?
There was a character named Lazarus in an episode of Star Trek that basically wound up with his...
but the Lazarus we know, he turned into like a necromorph, so whatever.
Not that Lazarus, but no, what I mean is the fact that those two characters wound up trapped in a... basically in a bridge between two dimensions, locked in eternal combat for all eternity.
Right.
So whoever wrote that about the alternate version of Abaddon had watched the Lazarus, or whatever that name of that Star Trek episode was, one too many.
I believe the point was just that they were like brothers, and they were just like, they weren't like good and evil. They were just at odds with each other because they're both brothers bent on domination, and they each have
Hey.
like their own whatever that
Do you
guy
think-
was.
Do you guys think you could make essentially peace with the angels if you just pointed them at the Cybermen? Because they'd send them back in time, and then not only would they be alive before they were born, but they'd also be unconverted.
See, now you're
Also, What?
coming up with no. Why would they be
Yeah,
unconverted?
I'm sitting here like, why would they unconvert just from
Yeah.
traveling
no, they
back?
wouldn't unconvert, but think about it. Wouldn't there be more energy because you'd have a converted Cyberman back before a time, before they were converted as well?
I don't think so. All you'd have is a Cyberman now existing in the past going, boy, a lot of people I could convert here.
Yeah,
including
that,
himself.
That would sort of cause a paradox in its own. Well, not necessarily, but a self-fulfilling prophecy. If anything, it would go back and
Actually, if he
convert
converted
himself.
before he was converted, or yeah, it could be a bootstrap paradox. Yeah,
It's like if you sent a Cyberman to Mondas 5 billion years ago, and they say, "Hey, I should start converting people here." If anything, that might make them stronger because you'd be bringing the old technology back, kind of like how the Daleks.
back to the originals. Yeah.
Kind of like how the Daleks
Oh yeah. Do you
keep bringing
think
their
Dalek
technology
ice dogs
back.
can become angels?
Oh,
Daleks of ice. Do you think
God.
they can have an angel in them?
Oh, God.
I'm not just like stop and actually try about the interplay
Will
between
you
the different
stop feeding
species
us
in the
nightmare
setting.
fuel?
What? What?
I said, will you stop feeding us nightmare fuel?
How is it? Look, no, seriously, stop and think about the interplay between all the different species.
Stop and think about what you're saying!
Do you have like weeping dinosaurs when the Silurians were around? I mean, God.
Oh.
I mean, the T-Rex can't cover its eyes, so how the hell did those ones work?
They were kind of strapped. They were just kind of trapped there. No getting out of that sucker.
Done with the temporal paradox conversation.
I think we've kind of mouthed it, yes.
Okay.
Daleks don't.
Okay,
blink.
okay. Let's move on to Epic Rant 2. Randy, River Song, go.
River Song. All right. River
Throw you, Moffat!
Matt, I'm talking now.
Yes.
Okay,
Are you
when
sure
River
you're
Song
talking?
showed up in Silent of the Library, I did not hate the character. I wasn't as fond of her as some.
I hated her from the
hate-
beginning. I didn't grow to not hate her until I didn't grow to not hate her until later. She annoyed me in that first appearance.
I didn't find her to be that annoying.
I did not find her to be painful the first one, no.
I like the concept.
Yeah,
I didn't
my
like the-
problem was more the fact that she was shitting on David Tennant the entire episode.
Okay.
It's not that I wasn't that fond of the concept. But I wasn't disfond of the character. Then she came back in the 5th series, and I grew to quickly dislike her.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm not doing stuff like this, when I'm not on MMOs, I write fan fiction, and I edit other people's fan fiction. I host panels and symposiums at conventions on writing fan fiction. So I know the ins and outs of how not to write fiction. I've actually gone to school for this. This was one of my majors in college.
Yeah, and I'm studying it now.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that you learn when dealing with fan fiction is how to identify the Mary Sue.
That's in generic writing as well, actually.
Yeah, it is in generic writing, but you really
It's the perfectionist
term
character.
itself doesn't usually come up in main fiction. I know my teachers didn't cover it. It was something I had to figure out when I got into fan fiction.
I had a lecture about it today, actually.
Really? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice that that's actually gone into the classes now. But over the years, I've developed my own little series of checkboxes on the Mary Sue. For those that don't know, the Mary Sue originated in Star Trek fiction. And was usually referred to as the female self-insert character that became the love interest for Kirk, Spock, etc. Over the last 40 years, that term has evolved somewhat into being the Little Miss Perfect character who is so perfect at everything, and yet everybody loves her for it. That's kind of the, in a nutshell, definition of a Mary Sue. And there's many check boxes that I've kind of developed for identifying one. River checks almost all of them. And she didn't check those check boxes, only ticked a couple of them in that first episode with Tennant. But starting with that Angel episode, and it got even worse about when you got to the Pandorica opens and the Big Bang, she started checking Mary Sue boxes all over the place. She does everything the Doctor can, and she does it better.
Yeah, has a better time machine.
Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't say she has a better time machine, but she knows how to pilot the TARDIS.
In terms of time travel in and of itself, she does. In terms of the other things a TARDIS is capable of, no.
Oh yeah, I mean the TARDIS is a piece of shit when you actually want to get somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's still, she's still, she can pilot the TARDIS better than the Doctor.
Oh, that's something I forgot to bring up with the paradox thing.
She apparently has gone back in time to send the Doctor messages on stuff, creating huge temporal rifts, which, would normally piss the Doctor off to all end.
Yeah. Of course, the Doctor then went on to do that in this episode. The Doctor went back in time to leave messages for River in this episode, so I guess it's coming full circle now. That Chinese vase, he went back to China
I forgot to touch on that.
To have Yowza inscribed on a vase.
Entire bullshit. How did he know which vases would be owned by that person? I mean,
yeah.
So it's
the book by following the book.
Yeah.
Although I don't think
all he knew from the book is that it was the Qin Dynasty. You know how many vase makers were in the early Qin Dynasty?
Yes, but if only one of them has Yowza written on the bottom.
Except it wouldn't have been there till he put it.
Although, quick question about the collector. Doesn't anyone else think that it would have been a much more effective pre-credit sequence rather than the private eye if we actually had the collector getting that angel?
Yeah,
maybe, but
although I think the point of this was
damaged.
I think the point of the beginning was to foreshadow what would happen to Rory.
Yeah, and go, ooh, wow, ooh, Statue of Liberty angel.
Oh yeah,
which instead made you want to headbutt the TV, Randy. But
yeah, which started me opening the open credits with, really, Moffat? Really? You went there? But yeah, River saw.
Who is this guy? Why the hell does he have like a breathing pit for angels in his basement? And how the fuck did he get a damaged angel and he's keeping it chained up?
No, he didn't get it damaged. He started damaging it somehow of his own.
Which was my point when I was mentioning the fact that the angels are supposed to be invulnerable. When observed, how the hell was a 1930s human damaging an angel?
Chisel and hammer, dude.
That it wouldn't work because he'd be looking at it.
I think the point was like shut off the light, slash it with a sword, and turn the light back on before it can react.
Except angels react faster than humans.
True.
Yeah, it made no sense. Can we just say it made no sense?
We're going to be hearing a lot of those words during
Wait a second. You know what? When it was covered by that curtain so that nobody could look at it, no one was observing it. So why wasn't it able to move?
Was chained up. But really,
But wasn't it still chained up when it reached out and grabbed the River?
Yeah, it was able to reach out, yes.
She was fairly close, though.
Yes, she was. She was looking at it, examining it, and then she got distracted when the lights went out and came back, and the angel had reached out and grabbed her. It was still within the length of the chain.
Why didn't he just send her back in time?
It wasn't strong enough.
What?
It wasn't strong enough to send her back in time at all.
Send her back in time. It was too injured.
It was too injured to eat. It was starving too much to eat.
Okay.
Like I said, it's an innate failure in the species. If you're the second you suddenly are no longer strong enough to send people back in time, you're doomed. Sorry, Darwin check. You failed. Are we ready to go?
Darwin check.
Are we ready to go back to River Song yet? Because thus far my rants are like constantly derailed.
Go.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, she knows how to do everything better than the Doctor. She does a lot of the things that the Doctor finds reprehensible at best. But it really hit me like I said, in the Pandorica opens, where she makes a Dalek beg for mercy. This is yes! By simply invoking her own, by basically being the Tenet level of badass, she makes a Dalek beg for mercy. And who did we lose? We lost Bill. This is not good.
He'll be back.
I will actually... what do you mean you had a temporary breakdown?
Like, just add in the countdown music and make it seem like we were ranting about it for hours.
Right, Skype crashed on his recording computer. I'm kind of waiting for him to see if he can get back.
Mm.
I'm sure this will be able to be fixed in post.
Glad I'm not the one editing it.
Yeah, well, that's what Bill does. And Matt sends his copy to Bill to do it. That's why these don't go up until the week after. Like, I think the one for Power of 3 will be going up, like, shortly after this. Are you back, Bill?
I'm back. Skype just decided to up and crash on me, which it does sometimes when I'm running Fraps.
Okay, is Fraps running again?
Fraps is still running.
Okay, all right. I held for this, so I'll start again. So it wasn't until when the Pandorica opens when River made a Dalek beg for mercy. Yes. Excuse me, but mercy isn't in the Starro Standard Dictionary.
Here's the thing, because I'm pretty sure I could have sworn Daleks had done that before. I think the whole point is they claim to have no concept of it, but when they realize they can, in Dalek, I think it begged for mercy, because their whole point is they claim to have no idea what it means until they think they can use it to their advantage.
Davros has used it. I don't remember a Dalek.
I could have sworn in the episode Dalek.
No.
I could have sworn it begged Rose for mercy.
No. It never did. Yes.
No, before before she touched it and everything.
No.
I could have sworn. Or it was either mercy, pity, or some similar word.
It might have used the word pity, but mercy was never used. In fact, I believe Van Staten actually asked for mercy, and the Dalek, well, it did know the meaning of the term, was scoffing at it. It was only because Rose asked the Dalek not to kill Van Staten that it stood down. But just by saying, "This is who I am," it made the Dalek beg for its life.
I think it begged. Oh, it begged because it couldn't shoot her and she had a gun.
It was pretty.
Yeah.
It was pretty much That was about the point that really started. The Mary Sue alarm started going off.
Right.
Then we got into Series 6. And she went from being a Mary Sue to a God Mode Sue.
Yeah.
Where it's, let's just make River perfect by giving her the powers of a Time Lord. And
was that the season where
a really good reason why she has them?
And let her do effectively whatever she wants.
Was that the season where the Doctor committed genocide again?
Did he?
Didn't he make humanity wipe out the Silence?
Yes.
Yeah, well, no, he didn't really have them wipe them out. He set them to kill them on sight. It doesn't mean that the Silence didn't survive by fleeing. But
okay, that's still a good run for genocide, though.
Of course, there's also the big loophole that the Silence is also the name of the cult that wants to kill him, and they brainwashed River, and River, who would normally seek revenge
because of what happened during Asylum of the Daleks. Because now the Daleks are going to try to find out who is Doctor who is this guy who walked into their parliament, made funny faces at them, and ran off.
River, who would normally seek revenge on anybody for the slightest petty insult, has no interest in seeking revenge on the people who brainwashed her and ruined several decades of her life.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. But that's the thing. River makes no sense, and she, like I said, she is such a God mode Sue, and they try to make her into the perfect mate Sue too, which really, I started hating River at the end of Series 5, and everything that she's shown up in ever since has just made me hate her more. One of my friends in Australia was always saying, well, now we're done with seeing the later River. Now we'll see the earlier River. No, we skipped all that.
Yeah, what happened to the whole point? They were supposed to be seeing each other backward.
Yeah, apparently that's now just gone because now we're back to Professor Song. When River Song first showed up back in Series 4, she
did not have a vortex manipulator.
No, she got that later on, but she was an XP.
Well, she died then, so she never got it later on.
Well, yeah, no, I meant later on in the series.
Oh, but my point is, she needs to lose that somehow.
Yeah, but they haven't shown that yet. But what I mean is, before you sidetracked me, is she was an XP of an existing character from novels.
Ah.
She was an XP of Bernice Summerfield, who was a very long time Doctor Who companion of, I believe, like 6, 7, and or 8 in the Doctor Who novels. I wasn't a big Bernice Summerfield reader. I had a couple of the audios, and I might have had one book. So there's not my favorite character, but I knew where they were coming from when River Song showed up. Moffat has kind of taken her, and apparently River Song is the character Moffat masturbates to in the shower. That's all I can think of is why he's turned her into such a freaking God mode character. He just has gone overboard with making her this uber powerful super doctor with none of the actual morality that we've grown to like about the Doctor, and then made sure that the Doctor loved her regardless of that. Even though, if you take a look at what River Song does, if you applied that to any other person that's traveled with him on the TARDIS, save for maybe Leela, he would have said, no, you're not worthy of being a companion, goodbye. But no, instead he falls in love with her. Why? Because Moffat wrote it. This is why I hate River Song.
Isn't he sort of forced into it because she crossed his timeline early on and told him, like, earlier in the series?
She didn't really say, she hinted.
Isn't that enough?
Not really.
Okay.
Because anytime he asked for facts, which again is in contrary to how the Doctor's acting now, she'd say spoilers. Remember that? Spoilers.
Mm-hmm. I want to, just punch her in the face and read the book.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Not to mention the inherent danger of keeping that journal.
Although, if they just wanted, if they wanted the female Time Lord around, bring back the Doctor's daughter. That's what she was there for.
Bring back Romana.
I mean, speaking of the God mode thing, don't you love the fact how the Doctor wasn't allowed to look at her diary because of spoilers? But what's the first thing she does every time she meets up with him? Copy everything in his journal down.
Yeah.
So she's allowed to know everything he's done in however many years, but he's not allowed to see it.
She's the one policing him because she's the superior person. Excuse me while I go vomit. This is supposed to be Doctor Who. It's supposed to be a show about the Doctor. Every time River Song shows up, it's the River Song Show, featuring the Doctor. And
I would say this episode was more Doctor. Actually, I think it was evenly split between the four protagonists. Yeah.
There were
wait. So Moffat's trying to force another spin-off series on us, basically?
No.
Because surely that would resolve the issues.
It would. Yes, it would. If River Song would go off into her own series and not cross back into Doctor Who again. Ever.
Well, at one point she's got to bugger off anyway because she's got to die in the Tenet stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if we're going to see the episode where he goes on a date, gives her the screwdriver, is crying, and she doesn't know why. But I have a feeling it's going to happen off screen.
I think
at an undisclosed time, and he's just going to be like, "Oh, after I gave her the screwdriver, I just made a new one and never mentioned it."
Well, no, it was based on his own design. Go back to Silence in the Library. Look at that screwdriver. It's the old blue screwdriver with bits added. So it's not like he gave her his current screwdriver.
Oh.
So that's not really an issue.
So it could have even happened already. For all we know.
It's possible.
Well,
of course, there's also the fact that there's also the fact that
got that.
kind of
Whatever happened to the Master's laser screwdriver?
It was part of the paradox.
No,
maybe?
it probably the Doctor destroyed it.
But I'm just thinking, based on their exchange in this episode, I don't think 11 is smart enough to arrange to figure out when River's going to die and meet her there and give her the screwdriver and everything. It just, or even that birthday where they allegedly had a threesome with himself and River. I just don't see 11. I just don't see 11 as being capable of that.
No, I don't.
Unless she sticks around until the 12th Doctor, which means we have her for another 4 years at least.
Oh.
I think, or no, at least another 2 or 3 years. Then
that would annoy me. And yeah, the Doctor's personality for these series bothers me too. I mean, I'm a big Tennant fan. I know some of you don't like Tennant. I think it's Flynn.
I think it was Flynn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tennant is definitely
I will
my
agree
Doctor.
that some of the writing during the RTD era wasn't the best, especially when you got down to Russell's specific episodes.
Or the Slovene.
Yeah, but you notice the Slovene after the first series kind of buggered out of Doctor Who and went to the Sarah Jane Adventures, where they fit in nicely.
Yeah.
So I think he knew that one was. I think he knew that one was a little below par. But even so, I mean, a lot of the Russell's episodes tended to come to a. It's like he kept writing and writing and writing, and then realized he had to wrap up really quick, so he kind of the solution.
Pretty much.
He was better at the epic arcs, though.
Mm-hmm. But I liked Tennant's the Tennant's 10's personality better than I liked 11's. I liked that manic energy that Tennant brought forth without acting like a hyperactive 3-year-old.
Right.
I mean, seriously, if you think 9 is the Doctor in a midlife crisis, then 11 is senility.
Pretty much. Because it hit to me what the Doctor is in the 11th Doctor. He's a man-child. Yeah. He's if he was human, he would have a kid visiting him at the nursing home every week.
Yeah, but he'd also be like up for war crimes for essentially trying to commit genocide on his own species.
He would be the one. He would be the one with. I mean, are bow ties ever tied, or are they always the automatic thing you just strap on?
I don't know. I think he uses clip-ons now.
Yeah, because I'm like, either way, I'm like, I see him as the one who's too old to tie a tie, and that's why he wears the bow tie.
Yeah, I think so. And
or at least not.
If we wanted
mentally.
A child in charge of the TARDIS, why didn't we just get Rowan Atkinson to do Mr. Bean as the Doctor? He did a great job in Death Comes to Time. Because that's essentially what we have, and that annoys me. I miss Tennant. I really do miss that manic energy he brought into it, where he could be the hyper excited kid, but the second stuff got serious, he switched.
Yeah.
I think there hasn't been enough situations, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, where can the storyline really go from here?
So, wait, you're saying not enough situations for 11 to be serious? You mean?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
Power
there have
of
been
3.
plenty of those. the problem is, every time there was a situation for the doctor to be serious, guess who showed up and took charge of the situation so the doctor didn't have to?
River fucking Song. And that's the problem. I mean, the doctor is being upstaged by the not even a companion.
The part-time companion.
If you put River Song in the
Hitchhiker.
category, she would go in the same category as the Brigadier, where she doesn't quite qualify as a companion, and yet she does. The thing is, the Brigadier never upstaged the Doctor, except for small scenes where he was on his own.
And he deserved it. He earned it.
Yes, he would have his epic military moments of badass, usually when the Doctor's off dealing with something else. River has her epic moments of badass with the Doctor there going in the background.
While the doctor's watching her like, oh, wow, she's so awesome.
Yes. And that's bad writing.
Speaking of which, I'm pretty sure this is the first episode we've ever seen the Doctor preening, isn't it?
No,
Nah.
it's not the first episode we've seen the Doctor preening. It's the first episode we've seen the Doctor preening like that. And going on a hot date.
This
And yeah, it sickened me.
But the 11th Doctor is your inner child.
He's the inner man-child.
Even
For the clown klutz, I'll take Patrick Troughton over Matt Smith.
We need some more grim episodes.
We do.
Which is ironic because Tony Booth was talking today about how ever since Moffat took over, there's been less and less, fun moments in Doctor Who, and it's been too serious. And it's just like I could see that. I mean, I personally prefer serious things, but I could definitely see where there's been a lot less, there's been a lot less balance, and it has been a lot more toward, I wouldn't necessarily say dark, but it's been, more toward that tilt where there's more, more tragedy than comedy.
Yeah, less campy humor. I mean, let's face it, the Doctor bouncing down a flight of stairs while strapped to a seat going, worst rescue ever, was a bit of campy fun.
Ugh. There's
a weird
already
thing.
too little chances left for stories. It's like what did 10 do to piss off Queen Elizabeth again? Because that got mentioned during the Shakespeare episode.
Oh, we don't know. We don't know which Doctor it was. We don't know which.
Never brought up again.
Yeah, it's like, stop wasting all these plots.
But I think Davies did that. I think Davies just did that largely to give the Doctor scope, to realize that the Doctor has been everywhere and every time and has done, or will do.
Well, then get serious and give us the Trench Warfare episode already.
You know what he did to piss off Queen Elizabeth. Didn't he wind up marrying her?
Did he?
I think that was mentioned.
Was that what happened in Power of Three?
No, it's what happened during the specials. It's what he mentioned to the Ood.
Ah. The Doctor's married quite a few people.
Like, got married, Queen Bess. That was a mistake. And then I think they mentioned it again during the Smith era.
But yeah, it's like sooner or later they're going to run out of plot, and they're going to be left with the stuff they just won't be able to show.
Well,
that's why they switch writers.
Window and start writing over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids can handle some pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
I don't think they're giving them enough credit, really.
Doctor Who is an all-ages show. It's not just for kids. So you don't want to dumb the writing down to kids. You want to make it entertaining for kids and adults.
Yes.
The problem is, Moffat was good when he was writing 1 to 2 episodes a season.
Right.
And when he's apparently now overseeing an entire series, he's not putting enough time into his own episodes.
And the series are shorter as well.
It's one. It's
Oh
he's
no, they're not. They're just
Mhm.
broken up.
Kind of like Tim Burton. He's great if you give him a set, group of things he can do. When you say, okay, go make this as dark as you want within these boundaries. But when you give him too much creative control, weird shit comes around with no explanation.
I don't know. I kind of like when. Yeah.
That's because it's a remake of one of his own earlier works.
I mean, Beetlejuice was fairly out there, and it was awesome. The problem is, I think that Burton, whenever he directs, tries to trump his previous work,
Yeah,
and it doesn't always.
but in the same way, over and over.
Mm-hmm. And I think that might be Moffat's problem. Is every time he comes out with an enemy, he wants to make it bigger and badder than the last time it showed up.
It's play Deadly Premonition. But seriously, it's like, has he not done Writing 101? It's like, just get creative. It's like, you can use the same villain. They don't have to be bigger or more awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
Or just look at the library. I mean, no one's done the Zygons. They haven't done the Sea Devils.
Yeah,
They haven't done the actual
they've done
demons.
the Silurians, but they've not really touched on the Sea Devils. The Zygons were mentioned. They were mentioned in Power of Three.
Hmm.
As apparently when they went back to the opening of what was that hotel?
The Ritz?
No, it wasn't the Ritz. It was a well-known hotel, I think, in like Brighton. But the grand opening was apparently stopped because there was a Zygon ship under the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm
at least they
trying to
got
think what else
at least they got honorable mention, which is the first time they've been heard of since the Fourth Doctor in canon.
with the Loch Ness Monster.
Right.
That was actually the first Doctor Who story I read. It was the novelization of that episode.
The Loch Ness Monster was referenced in the hell was the name of that episode with Sarah Jane and Rose when they were having their
The Loch Ness Monster was mentioned. The Zygons weren't mentioned by name, though.
right.
Yeah.
This is the first time the Zygons have been mentioned in Doctor Who since the that Fourth Doctor episode where they first showed up and were introduced.
And I mean, they could play around with the alternate dimensions a bit more.
They're not really supposed to.
Yeah, because I was say Ten's whole
yeah,
thing
'cause
was
they really follow the fucking rules, don't they?
Yeah.
Ten's whole thing was that the universe would be destroyed if they bled over again because it was such a fragile separation. But then again, Moffat's been like, yeah, Davies had this rule, fuck that. Davies had this rule, fuck that. Davies had this rule, fuck that.
Moffat.
Also, the fact that isn't that a bit of a paradox? How in like the normal timeline, the Cybermen were wiped out and were extinct, but now they've been completely replaced by the parallel dimension Cybermen.
Not really, and
Yeah.
Cybermen weren't really ever wiped out. They were
Well-
reduced to a small fraction.
Ten claimed that they had been completely wiped out.
Oh, he did. When?
No,
In
Nine
the
did
fr-
in Dalek when they're in the museum.
no, he was just like, oh, look what you've been reduced to. But the first of that two-parter, there was it was Age of Steel, right? Oh, I think it was Age of Steel. He was just like they've been, it was like they were all wiped out in our universe or whatever. They're all gone.
I don't remember that line. Mind you, I'm sitting over here with my second edition set over here. I'm gonna have to look it up and get back.
I think it was more if he said, no, those were created in our universe or something. These are
Yeah,
something
I remember-
new.
Yeah, but he said they were all gone.
I don't remember him
Because that was part of the thing. He was terrified that they were basically coming back to haunt him after
Well,
he had
yeah, it
gotten
said
rid of them.
it's starting over again. I don't think he necessarily
Yeah,
meant
but
that.
I thought weren't the Cybers part of this time war as well? Because they were part of they were part of a
I don't
time war.
think so.
They were part of one of the time wars. I know it might have been the novels one.
Yeah, I think it was the novels one because I don't think the Daleks were in this one.
Why the fuck hasn't anyone have they even written a novel about the time war yet?
No, because
No,
Why?
they're not going
it
to.
exists entirely in the head of Russell T Davies, and he's not telling anybody the details.
I mean, I want to see parts of it, but there is also the fact that there's physically no way that any writer that they have is going to write it as good as what they're trying to get us to envision on our own.
Yeah.
I disagree.
We're going to be disappointed no matter what they do if they try to do a big scale. If they try to do a small scale, they can succeed.
I disagree. However, I don't think the TV series is the best way to do it. I will admit that.
Right,
But I think if they did a series of novels about it,
I think they should do it as audio dramas in small scale.
Yeah, audio dramas or novels, because I'm just working off like the Horus Heresy series, because that's a sort of very similar situation to what is going on now with the Time War for Doctor Who fans. Where in
Heresy series.
Oh, sorry. It's a 40K thing for Warhammer 40K.
Oh, okay.
It's establishing this massive period of the setting's history, which we knew some very key details about, but nothing it was never been really fleshed out. So like in the Time War, we knew that Gallifrey become corrupted, these species were wiped out. We know who was involved, and we have like the names of some battles, but that's all we have.
I think Russell deliberately wanted to have it kept in our imagination.
Yeah.
That's understandable, but I still think that they could do it as a book series really easily, and it would probably turn out really good, actually, if they got the proper writers.
I'm kind of surprised that there haven't been novels done on certain events that get, like, briefly mentioned in the show, like that Fall of Arcadia thing.
Yeah, well, it's possible that the BBC will not let them release novels that deal with that because they might be using it in a possible timeline.
Or have they done a novel about just all of Rory's time as a Roman?
Well, he spent most of that time standing in front of the Pandorica.
Yeah,
but think about the pure history that happened. Just like... yeah, okay. Yeah, but okay.
Sorry. Now,
From ancient Romans to modern day, think about all the stuff that happened in Britain, and he had to be there guarding this massive box and making sure it wasn't stolen by Vikings.
Yes, except for the fact that there would be long periods of time where he's just basically sitting in front of the box. It would turn out like Harry Potter Book 7.
Or the Casca series, which is actually pretty good, so, because you can skip those parts. Because unlike the Harry Potter series, Unlike the Harry Potter series, the Casca series does just skip them, the boring bits.
Okay, I had something, but we tangented and I've lost it now.
Was it about River or about something else?
No.
We were still talking about River.
The River song "Weeping Angel."
What?
Just the symbol of your hate.
But while you're finding where you were, this I kind of forgot to bring it up earlier. They mentioned how a paradox would require such immense power, which of course was bullshit anyway, but they're talking about how the paradox would require such power to create. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the TARDIS both have physically impossible immense power, and Gallifreyan technology has been proved to be strong enough to maintain a paradox?
That would be what the paradox engine was, yes.
So couldn't, the TARDIS have come in handy?
Except for the fact that they left it at the old guy's house and they were stuck at the key.
The TARDIS is such a piece of junk. I'm not kidding. It seriously is. It's got powers as the plot demands.
So does the sonic screwdriver now.
Yeah.
Yeah. At which point?
A sonic screwdriver.
I'm sorry, but human tech's more reliable than the TARDIS tech.
Why does he
the human time traveling things?
He has like 5,000 functions now. It's a multi-tool. That's what it is.
And it's only ever been used once as a screwdriver.
No, he was wrong. It has been used before as a screwdriver. I remember
the Ark in
War Games it does.
Doctor demonstrating its function as a screwdriver.
Just don't think about how it actually works.
Either the second or the third.
The second did in War Games to prove that they were not from or that he wasn't from Earth.
And there's one in the Ark
on a German guy's gun.
Yeah, and I remember I think the third Doctor doing it to impress I think Joe or Sarah Jane. And they might have used it to unscrew a grate back in Victoria's last episode. What is that? Like Fury from the Deep, I think. So way back there when it first showed up.
Oh,
That
actually,
was Screwdriver's first episode.
stuff from way back, well, not even way back, but stuff would probably be nice to see more, just because it's got more, story ideas behind it.
At least Russell was doing that. I mean,
Where's the werewolf civilization? I want to see that.
Yeah.
that's not really back there. That's only a couple of series back, dude.
Yeah, I know, but even that
But
is.
Russell was bringing back some of the old, enemies we hadn't seen before, for ages. I mean, he brought back the Macra, which that episode doesn't even exist anymore. I think at one point he was talking about the Axons, which was a third Doctor, enemy that we only ever saw once.
And then they got stuck in a time loop.
Mm-hmm. And then we handed it over to Moffat, who's mostly interested in touting off. He either goes back to the same pool. It's Silurians, Daleks, or one of his own enemies.
Angels or.
But never as the main big bad.
Yeah, I'm saying the Cybermen have only been no. There was that one episode that took place in the bottom of a shopping mall.
Oh yes, I forgot.
Oh God, no, the one with the baby.
That was his first straight up Cyberman
like
story.
80% character drama.
Yeah, it was more it was more about the what's his name, Craig, I think.
Yeah.
Than actually about Cybermen.
Mm-hmm. Really, the Cybermen were kind of an anti-climax. Doctors, it's a ship full of Cybermen. Okay, and they're all about to die.
Although there was a cool scene in the build up to Demon's Run.
Yeah, but that was just a scene. They weren't the main big bad.
I know. It's, to be honest, all of the villains have gone through villain decay.
Yeah.
It's like, Randy, you're a fanficker. I'm pretty sure you could write a better Doctor Who series.
I'm planning on it.
Dude, I'll take you up on that challenge. Because I wrote out an outline for one, so I'll race you to
the
finish
villain
it.
decay. That's kind of why I get I would like to see someone who we haven't seen since like the '60s come back, because there's no they can't really do anything except do it better. Well, unless they have a really crappy writer, which some episodes do have, but.
I mean, Neil Gaiman wrote a pretty good episode.
Neil Gaiman's episode was great. He lives like what, a couple 100 miles north of here, Matt? Neil Gaiman. It's north of here, starts with an M. I know there's a lot of Wisconsin towns that start with an M. Yeah, and that's not the one. But I almost feel like driving up there just to give him a hug after that episode.
Doctor's wife.
Yeah. I think, if I remember, Bill isn't that fond of the episode.
Well, I like the episode, but it's as part. Basically, we have an entire season about River, who we know is the Doctor's wife, and then there's an episode called "The Doctor's Wife" stuck in the middle of it. If it had come out a season earlier, when there was a whole thing about the TARDIS exploding and everything, it would have been it would have made sense with everything. Instead, it kind of throws everything off because it's kind of subverting the season plot.
Which for me is a plus because I hate River.
Well, that's the thing. River, it was River's season. It would kind of be like if they had an episode.
Lives in Miami.
It would kind of be like an episode in season 2 called "The Doctor's Girlfriend," and it was about the screwdriver. And Rose wasn't there at all.
Still, any episode that takes away from River's song is a bonus. In fact, I just can't wait until she gets around to having to go die.
Actually, yeah. What are all the new species anyway that they've introduced?
Well, okay. We, of course, have the Weeping Angels, which are Moffat's own creation. The Vashta
Yeah.
Narada, Moffat's own creation. Let's see. What else has he really dealt with that's actually gotten... Whatever the freaking bad guy was in Power of Three.
Oh, yeah.
The
The
guy
automated...
Shockery.
Emperor Palpatine.
The Shockery.
The Shockery, that was a new one.
Silence?
The Silence was a new one.
Silence was okay.
The Silence was him browsing the internet and seeing Slender Man.
Yeah.
Basically where Moffat got the idea.
Well, there was...
Wasn't it from that thing screen, that photo, that painting screen, the Wilhelm
Scream?
screen? Oh,
No,
yeah, that's it.
it's Slender.
It's like, we should all just write a one of Doctor Who's